Welcome everyone to We Talking About Sports. It's gonna be a different show today. We talking shop, little different vibe, unfortunately. Just bringing to light a current situation that is going on in the sports world. Me and Justin thought it was a good idea. Well, first of all, Justin, what's up, man? Thanks for being on today.
Hey man, no problem. I like you said, I wish it was under some better circumstances. We're gonna talk about something that's a little more heavier than what we normally talk about. This podcast, we like to keep it light and fun, but unfortunately, this is probably not light and fun news to talk about. And it was, at the forefront of the sports world yesterday. And we are a sports podcast at the end of the day, so we definitely do have to talk about it.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and dive in. Parole Tide, just not a jab or not to be funny about it, but obviously Alabama Crimson Tide, Roll Tide is their name, but they have had some instances where players get in trouble. Um, whether it's any kind of crime, any kind of you know uh, just bad behavior in general. So the Alabama star plays amid link to shooting, and I don't think it was going to be that big of a story, Justin, until he played yesterday, because this kid is involved in a murder investigation, and we're going to bring all the details up. We'll let you guys know what's going on, but he's a career. I mean, he's an athlete who's going to have a great career in the NBA. This guy's going to go to the NBA. He's a lottery
It's a
pick.
lottery pick, yeah.
Yeah, for those that don't know what a lottery pick is, he's going to get drafted early, very early. He dropped 41 points last night. He won the game in overtime. Career is going to be long. His ceiling is very high. Um,
Possibly.
Anything else you want to say on this guy as far as his
Yeah,
his play on the court?
his play on the court. He's playing for one of the better teams in college basketball right now, ranked in the top five. And like you mentioned, his projection is lottery pick. But there's some circumstances that are now, looming around him. Some news that came out 2 days ago, and we probably could get into the timeline
Yeah,
now
yeah. Let's just go
of
ahead.
what happened here with Brandon Miller. So on January 15th, 2023, a shootout takes place in Alabama in Titletown at the Tuscaloosa bars. There's a strip of bars wherever all the college kids go out and they hang out there. On February 21st, courtroom testimony comes out where Nate Oates, Alabama head coach, testifies, and the key word he said was wrong place, wrong time. Keep in mind that keyword in that phrase. So at this point, everybody who has been paying attention to the case now knows Brandon Miller. He delivered the gun at the shooting. He in his vehicle, the gun that was used in the murder case was brought to the shooters in his car. And on February 22nd, a lot of people wanted to see some sort of suspension, to see some sort of disciplinary action from the university to be put on Brandon Miller for his involvements. Of course, South Carolina, the away team, everybody in the SEC, different people wanted to see some sort of action, some sort of disciplinary action come down. Well, nothing came in, nothing came down, and he had a career night, dropped 41 points in the game, and then he won in overtime. He shot the game-winning ball in overtime, so he had a career night. Even though he being linked to all this.
Yeah, and going back to that first timeline piece there, shootout takes place on January 15th. So just real quick to let you guys know what happened. It's very similar to us here in Texas, 6th Street, Austin. So they go to a bar. The bar's full. Two of his friends stay in the bar. He leaves. He says that the lines are too long and he didn't want to wait. So he goes home. An altercation happens. And again, I guess before we do any of this, we weren't there. Obviously, we're not from Alabama. This is just stuff that we've read, we've seen on Sports Center, we've seen on CBS, we've seen on Fox News. These are just bits and pieces that we're getting together. A lot of this, obviously, we're not the sources of it. A lot of the sources come from analysts, reporters that we've seen across the internet and on ESPN, CBS, Fox Sports, all that. So according to everyone, according to what happened, I mean, even to statements that are going on inside of the courtrooms right now. This is what we're basing it off of. So the shootout takes place. They go. He doesn't want to be there. He goes home. An altercation happens. His two friends text him, "Hey, come back. Something's going down." So he decides to read that text message and say, "Okay, let me go back." He goes back. one of his friends lets him know that there is a gun in the vehicle. Now, this is a part where we don't know, did he already know that there was a gun in the vehicle before he went over there, or did he really not know until he got there? His lawyers, Justin, are claiming that he didn't know anything. His friends said, hey, come back and pick us up, or hey, come back to the bar, we're ready to go home. All this happened at about 2:33 in the morning. He drives back. His friend gets the gun, lets the other friend know it's a loaded gun. They get him an altercation with another vehicle that had the victim, her cousin, and the boyfriend in it. 8 shots are exchanged, and some more shots are exchanged from the victim's boyfriend. So this is going down in the middle of a street by the university. This isn't somewhere hidden, somewhere at an undisclosed location. This is going on with multiple, people around, bystanders, innocent people. So this is just a crazy shooting where obviously they did not care about what was going on. So that's what the shootout taking place on January 15 was. And then, Justin, you can kind of go into what happened after that.
Well, we can start with the head coach. During his courtroom testimony, this was his phrasing that Miller was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, Nate Oates, the head basketball coach for Alabama, apparently he has known since the beginning when this whole case and ordeal started going about. He has known that Brandon Miller had some sort of involvement. And since that date, nothing has come as far as disciplinary action. Nothing has come in the light of that. Nothing like that. So now that everybody's known this, now that everybody knows, he's walking back these statements because he realizes this is not the statement to say. There's a lot more, involvement than what's being led on. I don't know if you want to open up to that with the next slide, or you want to continue to talk about this one, Ron?
Yeah, we can just stay here really quick because I want to talk about other situations real quick in other sports, right? Yeah. NFL, MLB. Anytime a player gets accused of, I don't like to say the word, but any kind of domestic violence against women, any type of rape charge, anytime, it's just right away, the general manager, the owner of the team, the coach, first thing they say, player is suspended immediately upon further investigation. And one of the guys that was with him that was involved in the shooting was a junior. I believe he said he hasn't played since December.
Miles.
Yeah, because he was hurt. He hasn't played since December. And guess what they do to him? Automatically off the team right away. Now, did he have a little bit more involvement? Yeah, it seems so. He might have been the shooter or, actually got into the physical altercation with the other people. But regardless of it, he was on the team with Miller. And how is nothing getting done to Miller, Justin?
That's where it gets tricky because like you mentioned, they disciplined somebody for this action.
Correct,
his involvement is a little bit more implicit. Darius Miles, the person you're talking about, the junior, because as we're going to go into it, the wording that was said at the shooting, it's very clear that his involvement was more implicit. But it seems like, and I hate to assume, but I'm just working with information that I know, they didn't suspend Miller because he kind of wins games. And it seems like he kind of got not even a slap on the wrist because he's the star. It just seems that way. I hope this is not the case, but how do you defend the university at this point when they've done this? I don't know, how you can do that.
Correct. And then you have, the media goes and they ask the coach, the coach says wrong place, wrong time. What does the coach do immediately the next day on Wednesday, the day before the game? This past Wednesday, barely. He goes out, public statement. I apologize for what I said. My comments were taken out of context. I didn't know certain information, this and that. So obviously the coach knows that he said something wrong the day before, that this wrong place, wrong time statement was wrong. He shouldn't have said that. So he goes apology tour right away. I think that's enough on head basketball coach Nate Oates, because he's the coach of the team. He's supposed to be the role model. He's supposed to, I think they were saying when college coaches go and recruit players in high school, what do, Justin?
Recruit the family.
Go inside their living rooms. I'm going to make your son out to be not just a great player. I'm going to take care of
your son while you're out there.
Yes, I'm going to make him into a better man, make sure that he passes his classes. He's going to be a better human being, contribute to society. And then you have him coming out and saying this.
Yeah, and so Ron, I got to ask you though, what you're saying is this is the the quote unquote father to the kid while he's away from home, does he deserve to be handed a suspension, knowing all the details he's known and hasn't acted on Brandon Miller either? Does he deserve a suspension as well?
Definitely. I think so, just because I hate to say it again, but it's happened before. Even with it's crazy to say, the Alabama football situation, when the assistant coach was, I think a couple of years ago, text messages with his wife, and he was hitting his wife, and it turned out that Nick Saban didn't know what was going on.
I think
But
you're talking
because
about Ohio State, Urban Meyer.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, Urban Meyer at Ohio State. Urban Meyer knew what was going on. The coach gets kicked off the team right away, but nothing happens to Urban Meyer. But something should have happened because he didn't know. I mean, we could even go into the Michigan State gymnastics team situation where obviously the trainer was doing things he shouldn't have done. The university knew, people were speaking out, and nothing got done, and it was a worst case scenario over there for that gymnastics team. So I think not only the players, but it's a good point, Justin, that the coaches need to be held accountable as well, because they do play that father figure role. And players are coming from all around the country to go to these schools, far away from home, do not have any relatives. So a lot should weigh on the coach's shoulders.
I hate to even think this way, but if he wasn't a top 5 team, if he wasn't what they consider probably projected for that, Final Four weekend, if Alabama was losing this season, they're not making the tournament, or they're a fringe team.
Okay.
Do we see disciplinary action then? Or is it because it's like, hey, there's a chance they could make a run for the title, let's win at all costs? Like, is that what we're seeing? And I hope it's not that, but is that what's happening? It's just,
do you think that's what's happening?
I hate to assume, but it seems like that's the case. Seems like that's the case right now.
Yeah. All right, so let's just go ahead and move on. So this was the update on the involvement in the Darius Smiley-Miller case. Again, we grab bits and pieces here from sources all over the internet. So this comes from Gary Parrish, a tweet, and it reads, he is from CBS. Brandon Miller had a gun in his car. His teammate texted him and indicated he was having an incident with somebody and requested that Miller bring him the gun. And then Miller drove the gun to the scene where it was used to kill a woman. Somebody replied here, JD Sloan, that says, does what his lawyer said change your opinion? It kind of shows a better side to what really happened. While we don't know the actual facts, just speculation with a sprinkle of facts. Dude, bottom line, black and white, he brought a weapon to the crime, to a scene of the crime where somebody got murdered. Now, he reads that text message, Justin, and doesn't go over there. Nothing happens and nobody dies.
Yeah, and this is where it gets tricky, because his lawyer says he had no clue what was he bringing. He had no idea. That's what his lawyer has said. I'm gonna go with what is out there right now. But the sketchy part for me is, now that we're getting more details, he drives a Dodge Charger. He goes behind the Jeep of the person that they shoot, and he blockades the Jeep. That's a little weird, man, because how did you know who to get behind and how to block them? That's not natural. Those aren't natural behaviors. I just felt like there was going to be some sort of fight that night. Right. Maybe he didn't know it was going to be gun, but the intention was to not let them out, to block them in and have some sort of talk, something. I don't want to say his intention was murder. I'm not going to say that, but he didn't allow them to retreat, and that caused a serious accident, a fatal accident. So, or fatal, a capital murder in this situation. So,
yeah. And it's like, I mean, okay, you get it. If I'm at home and my boys call me, hey, come back and pick us up, something's going down over here. Yeah, I'm going to hop in my car and I'm going to go over there for sure.
Get an Uber.
You're getting an Uber?
No, I'm telling you, I'm not going to go back to you if I left the place. Like, okay. I have no business there anymore.
Oh, okay. So you're saying no
I'm not
question about it.
Don't even you're drinking, because the word is the man was drinking, had too much tequila, and he was like, come back for us. That's the word on the street. I'm not coming back to babysit, because I don't want you throwing up in my back seat. That's just not what I'm doing. Okay. I'm saying get an Uber.
Okay. So you're saying, hey, you're a grown man with another grown man. You guys take care of yourselves. I left the bar for a reason, and I'm already home. Don't bother me. And that's you know what, man? I didn't even think of that, Justin, because if those are your true friends and they know that they're intoxicated, and they know that they're going to get in a fight, and they know that there's a weapon in the car. Why are you telling this guy's ranked, and why are you going to put his future in jeopardy as well? So that's a really, really good point, man. If they were really his friends, they would have said, don't even get him involved. If we want to fight this dude or whatever, let's take care of it, but let's not get Miller involved. So that's a great point, man. All this time that we were even talking off camera, we didn't really talk about that. So great point there.
All right, let's get to the next one. And this is where, implications are a little bit more certain. This was the quote. This is the verbal exchange at the Strip nearby the Alabama campus. The heat is in the hat, and there's one in the head. Now, this is Darius Miles saying this to the shooter, Davis, Michael Lynn Davis. Let's translate that, Ron. The heat is in the hat. What does that mean?
Well, from the report that we saw, the reporter says the heat is in the hat, meaning that the heat is the gun. The hat pretty much was
a hat,
itself a hat.
It was enclosed. It was wrapped
enclosed somewhere, whether it was a beanie or a hat, or we could be wrong. The hat could be a term for something else. Maybe somewhere in the ceiling.
It was closed. He had clothes in his back seat. So
correct.
So what he's saying is the gun is in the hat that I have in the back seat. He was saying that to Davis at the time.
And the part where it says there's one in the head, meaning that there is a bullet already loaded in the chamber. So they let him know there's a gun in the car, get it because it's loaded. It wasn't like, get the gun, we're going to try to scare this guy. We're going to use it, and if necessary, it's already loaded. We don't have to worry about, putting bullets in the clip or anything like that. It's ready to go. It's ready to get used. So, I mean, this is a quote that was released by a detective that investigated the case. So this wasn't, any kind of he said, she said, street talk. These are true facts. So with quotes like this, Justin, I mean, these guys knew, man. They knew what they were doing, and they didn't care. They didn't care for themselves, for their friends, for the innocent people that were walking around. Because again, this happened at the Strip nearby campus, and dude, a lot of college kids aren't even 21 yet. So, I mean, we know it was 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, a lot of people who don't make smart decisions to begin with, obviously intoxicated. It was just a bad situation, and unfortunately, somebody lost their lives. And I think the message here is obviously, the victim itself, but, since we are a sports show and it is sports news, I have to be on the side of the family, the victims, and this guy should not have played last night. He should not be on the team. Total, fumble by the Alabama University, the team president, the athletic director, the coaches, the staff. I think somebody mentioned here that nobody did anything right at all.
Yeah. And I'm torn because I see your point. I do see it. And then I'm also on the other side where I start thinking with my head, and I start thinking, well, he's not indicted. He's not, I live by the code of, innocent until proven guilty in my mind. My heart says don't play the kid. My heart says suspension. My mind says, when I start thinking of it, he's not guilty yet. So why are we punishing someone who's not guilty? He should be allowed to work. So I'm torn, Ron. I cannot definitively say and take a side on this. I hate that I'm on a show and we're supposed to take strong sides on the matter, but my heart says one thing, my head says another, and it's a battle. And I just don't know where I really fall on this. I think once I get more facts, and I can be certain, I'll definitely feel more towards one way or the other. Mm-hmm. But it's conflicting. It's very conflicting. The only thing, like you mentioned, that I do know is that it's a sad case for the victim. Jamea Harris, rest in peace. She's just out there. She's having a time with her cousin and her cousin's husband. She went out to have a family time. And if there's someone who loves family time, it's me. And I never thought someone could be put in a position where they could be, hurt like that when they're spending time with family. And it's terrible thinking that way. It's terrible, the situation that she was put in, man.
Yeah, man. It's just the worst case scenario. This guy comes out guilty. Obviously, we knew he was there, right? He's involved. accessory after the fact, whatever political, I mean, whatever, criminology term that you want to use. He was there. And if he comes out guilty, bro, how is this going to look?
It's going to reflect bad on the
University.
university. It's going to reflect bad on the AD, the coach. It's going to go all the way up, man.
If this guy gets
and remember, the AD
and does like
he's
5
in charge
years,
of all the
years?
programs at Alabama, football, every program, and it's like that's a tough position you're putting him in. It just seems like like with my heart. If I'm saying with my heart, you ask the kid to sit out. You just asked the kid not to play last night.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. Man. Real quick before we stop, that you said, okay, don't suspend him, don't kick him off the team, but at least say, hey, you know what? Until we find out what really happened, you're gonna have to just chill for the next couple games, or chill till we find out what really happened. You're not off the team, you're not suspended, but we need to really find out what's going on, because if you really did some of this bad stuff that they're saying, you should not be part of this program or even a student at this university. But they let him go to practice, go to the games, and it's just wild, bro. But again, the victim will kind of end with this. She was a 23-year-old mother, Miss Harris, and the Harris family. Her stepfather came out and said, this player from Alabama is getting all the attention, but I have a stepdaughter who is no longer with us. Her life was taken, and in the way that it was taken, so many things could have happened to prevent it being taken, and we need to put some attention on her and the family that she's leaving behind, because everybody in the news is talking about the player, and the only thing that's going on in the Harris household is her memory and her loss and how sad they are. So our prayers, I know, definitely go out to the Harris family, and it's kind of it for me, man. Anything that you got before we?
It's heavy subject. It's not the easiest thing to talk about, and just want to keep the family and the victim in my prayers. And she left behind a kid, and he's gonna grow up without his mother, man, and that's not what we want to see, man.
Yep. But all right, we're out of here. Thank you everybody for watching, and comment below. Let us know what you think of the situation, where you stand on it, and we'll catch you guys soon with some more sports news where we're talking about sports. We're out.